Welcome to Small Town Dark Truths. I'm your host, Alexis, and we are back from Thanksgiving break. As you might have or may have not noticed, last week I did not post anything because a girl had 5 Thanksgivings and 1 birthday. Okay, my brain cells can't connect very well sometimes, and I didn't post this video before that and didn't edit it. So we're back, and I survived. So that's all that matters. But yeah, anyway, I might be doing the same thing for Christmas because I will be going out of town for like about a week to visit my family in Kentucky. So we'll see. Hopefully by then, but how fast this whole entire holiday season's going, I highly doubt it. Because I'm not gonna think about how many more episodes. I think I have 2 more episodes of this season. 2 more episodes of this season, so that's 2 weeks. So maybe by the time I go visit them, I'll be done with this season. And I already have the debrief filmed. I don't know. We shall see. So maybe I won't have to skip a week. Or maybe I'll just have a week break, between seasons. Who knows? I don't know, man. A girl does not plan ahead. I should, but I don't. It's like not in my brain capacity to do that. But anyway, we are delving into a very chilling mystery that happened actually not in Winder. So as we should know by now, every season I go to a different small town, not physically, but mentally. We talk about a different small town, and every episode is a different crime that happened in that small town. This season we're in Winder, Georgia, but we are going to be going about 30 minutes to 45 minutes, maybe an hour, depending on traffic, away from Winder, because this unsolved mystery is just too crazy to talk about. So we're going to be going to Lake Oconee. Again, it's still in Georgia, but I just wanted to talk about it because it is chilling. It is very much a lot. And it's going to be a long time till I'm back in Georgia, because how I want to do everything is I want to hit a small town in every single state. So by the time I get back to Georgia, it's going to be 49 states from now. So it's probably going to be a good long while. But I needed to talk about this. I hate hearing about unsolved mysteries, just like the first episode. It is tragic, it is sad, and you feel like there's no closure or justice because there isn't. But they are still very, very, very important to talk about, because maybe the right person would watch that video or hear the story and then they would remember something, and something might pop up in the case and it can become a solved case. It happens all the time. Even 50-year-old unsolved cases can be solved now because of the right person hearing about that case. It's happened on Reddit, it's happened on Facebook, it's all over the place. So you never know. They're important to talk about. They suck because, there's no justice, no answers, and no peace. But again, very important to talk about. So sadly, we do have an unsolved case today. It's actually very similar to the first episode, I will say, in a sense, but this one is, it is a lot. It's puzzling. It is, deeply unsettling, and there's truly parts of this case that are just like, what? It's probably one of the most puzzling, unsolved cases that I have heard. But yeah, we're going to be talking about that today. So let's get on with the crime for today. And don't forget to like and subscribe to follow my podcast and learn about more unsolved cases, unsolved cases that happen in small towns. And maybe, just maybe, I'll talk about your small town one day. We shall see, because you never know what is hiding in that small town that you feel like you know so well. I would know because I was born and raised in Winder, and I'm learning new things every single day. I did not know about any of these except for maybe 2 or 3. Actually, only 2. I've heard about 2 of them, but I did not know about the rest. So you never know. And actually, if you want me to talk about your small town one day and I get to that state, just comment down below on any of my videos and let me know. You know, say, hey, I live in this small town. Tell me about it, dude. And I will do that. But let's move on to the case for today. Woo! In May of 2024, the serene and exclusive Reynolds Lake Oconee, and this whole community is gated and very, very fancy. I will say that. It's very fancy, but being in a severely gated community makes this case even more questionable and even more weird, because how did they get in there? We'll talk about that. But the brutal of Russell and Shirley Dermond would shatter the peace of this idyllic lakeside haven. Their deaths were not just tragic, they were puzzling, deliberate, and deeply, deeply unsettling. Join me as we unravel the events of that fateful spring and the ongoing search for answers. Before the horror at Lake Oconee, Russell and Shirley Dermond were ordinary people with extraordinary lives, shaped by decades of experience, love, and community. Understanding who they were gives us a glimpse of just how devastating their loss was. Russell Joseph Dermond was born in 1925 in Georgia. He came of age during the Great Depression, a time that instilled his resilience, a strong work ethic, and a sense of responsibility that would carry out through his whole life. By the time World War II erupted, Russell was a young man. And like many of his generation, he answered the call to serve. He enlisted in the military, serving honorably during a conflict that demanded courage and sacrifice. Those who knew him said that he carried the discipline and the humility that he learned in the service in every aspect of his civilian life. And you can't help but imagine the pride and perhaps the quiet scars that he carried with him through the years. That sense of duty didn't just disappear after the war, and it never does. It shaped the way that he treated family, neighbors, and even strangers. Shirley Wilcox Dermond was born in 1926 and grew up in the rural South, during a time when life demanded resources and grit. Her upbringing was one of simplicity, community ties, and strong family values. Friends and family recall her as nurturing, patient, and deeply loyal. Shirley had a remarkable ability to make people feel seen and valued all around her, a trait that carried through her entire life. It's said that she always remembered small details about people and that her home was a welcoming place for family, neighbors, and friends alike. Their life together wasn't glamorous, but it was rich with the small, meaningful moments that make life full. Family dinners, community gatherings, and quiet walks by the lake. These were the routines that defined their days, and it's that grounding in everyday love and devotion that makes the violence that ended their lives even more jarring. Russell and Shirley married in the late 1940s, having 4 children together. They moved to Georgia to enjoy the quiet life and eventually settling near Lake Oconee. Their home reflected their personalities, warm, inviting, and a place where laughter was often echoed through the halls. They were pillars in their community, remembered for their generosity, kindness, and the way that they treated everyone, neighbors, friends, and family with respect and care. May 6, 2014, a neighbor that was concerned after the Dermonds missed the Kentucky Derby party arrived at their home. The garage door was slightly open, and when the neighbors stepped in, they were met with a sight that no one should ever witness. There were no signs of a break-in, no shattered windows, and no chaos, but the eerie stillness felt severely wrong. At first, they thought that Russell had fallen, but it quickly became clear that something far more terrible had happened. Russell had been killed, and in a way that investigators were certain that this wasn't just a random act of violence. His body had been carefully positioned and his head was missing. Sheriff Howard Sills said that this was one of the most unusual and chilling crime scenes he had ever encountered. And when I say unusual, I do not mean that lightly. In small town Georgia, brutal crimes are rare enough, but something this deliberate, this methodical, it shook everyone, investigators, neighbors, and seasoned crime reporters, because this wasn't just a break-in gone wrong, this was personal and very controlled. Deputies arrived within minutes. They secured the scene and began searching the home. Nothing appeared ransacked, Russell's wallet was still there, and Shirley's purse was untouched. There was no signs of forced entry, no fingerprints leading them towards a suspect, and no trace of Shirley anywhere. It was as if she had vanished. While the official autopsy details released by the authorities do not publicly confirm defensive wounds on Russell's hands, some investigative commentary and media interview references say that his hands were bruised and that he did have some of his wife's hair in his wounds. So, suggesting that he may have attempted to save her or defend her. These reports remain unverified, though, in public released forensics. So, I'm not sure 100% if he did have defensive wounds or not. Personally, but I have heard that around when I've listened to some podcasts and read a couple of articles, but it is not publicly announced, so I'll keep that there. Evidence at the scene, though, did hint that he had been shot first, and then post-mortem, his head had been removed to conceal ballistic evidence. But without the heads, the investigators couldn't confirm that. Sheriff Sills called it a calculated move, one meant to delay or prevent identification of the weapon, which just makes you think this person might be a professional. 10 days later, Shirley's body was discovered floating in Lake Oconee, weighed down by concrete blocks. An autopsy revealed that she had died from blunt force trauma to the head. And after this, the authorities were left with more questions than answered. No signs of forced entry, no valuables stolen, just a brutal double murder in a gated community that are so different from each other. That is the biggest thing in this case, is how different they were. You know, it's so weird. It is so weird. You know, we'll talk, I'll go into that later. Okay, let's just move on with the story. This case literally baffles me. It literally, like, my brain. Putnam County Sheriff Howard Sills is very determined to solve this case. He believes that multiple individuals were involved. Gunshot residue found on Russell's collar suggests that he was shot before being decapitated and possibly hindered ballistic analysis. Despite intensive interviews with neighbors, family members, and local workers, and the submission to polygraphs by the Dermond's children, the investigators have hit a dead end. Years passed, and the case grows colder and colder every day. In 2024, though, there was a major breakthrough. DNA evidence from the Russell's clothing reveals an unknown profile and that does not belong to the victims. This could be a significant lead, but it still does remain a mystery. Now, plans are made to submit this DNA to the CODIS, the National Criminal Database. If no matches are found, then investigators are planning on using genealogical DNA to trace the origin. And this could finally be the break that the case needs. Several theories have emerged throughout the years. Some suggest that the murders are a targeted attack, possibly related to the Dermond's past. Others believe that the crime was random and a senseless act of violence. Despite these theories, though, no concrete evidence has surfaced to point to a suspect. Russell and Shirley Dermond were more than just victims. They were parents, they were grandparents, and they were beloved members of the community. Their deaths have definitely left a lasting impact on their family and the residents of Reynolds Lake Oconee. While the search for answers do continue, the memories of the Dermonds live in the hearts of those who knew them. And I'm talking off script for a second because my script was very short, but the weirdest things I think that we have to sit and think about for this case is, first, how different both of the murders were. And I think that's why the sheriff thinks that there's two attackers. So think about that. One was more, I would say, public. And also the head is still missing. But he was in the garage and there was no hiding of the body necessarily. And then Shirley was found in the lake with a cinder block, meaning I don't know if we were ever meant to find her body. And I think the difference between those is so crazy, and I think that that kind of might hint to maybe why this happened to them. I don't know. And with it being possibly a random attack, I personally don't think it is a random attack. I feel like this whole thing seems so calculated and methodical, because I want to sit here and I want you to think about possibly how, think about all the things that this person would have had to do. They would have had to, first of all, this is a severely gated community. They would have had to figure out how to get in, okay? And that in itself is hard, especially if it is more than one person. They went to the Dermonds. No one else in the community was attacked or had anything going on. They went specifically to the Dermonds. They had to then get Shirley's body and bring her out to the lake. And I think a theory on my behalf, and again, nothing's proven, I think that whoever did this is a professional. And I don't know the reason why, but I think it's just something, just for me to put out there. This seems too calculated and too professionally done to be just a random act, or even be just a random person running around and doing this to people, because you see things in movies, but you don't think about them being real. Hitman, stuff like that. But sometimes when you get cases like this, where they are just so planned out and so perfectly done to the T, it kicks you, and you're like, there is people out there that are hired to do stuff like this. And again, that's just a theory. I'm not saying that anyone hired someone to do this to the Dermonds, because personally for me, I don't know why anyone would do that. I don't know anything at all, but it kind of, when you hear a case like this, it reminds you that there is still out and around professional people that do stuff like this. And I just want to put that out there. I'm not saying that's what happened, but I do want to put a little message out there that, just be careful and don't cross the wrong person, or just watch out, because you never know. You never know who would do something like this. I don't know. But yeah, with unsolved murders, you never know when the right person's going to hear. So, even though it sucks to talk about, it really does, because all you want is closure and all you want is justice. they are out there and we need to solve them so that we can get closure and justice. So if you know anything at all about this case, or maybe any other unsolved mysteries in Barrow County or Putnam County or any other county in the whole entire world, if you can think about anything, just please contact the FBI, the Atlanta field office at 770-216-3000, or the Putnam County Sheriff's Office at 706-485-8557. Yes, if you know anything about this case, please contact them. Please contact them. And also, if you know anything about my previous unsolved mystery, the first episode, please contact the Barrow County Sheriff's Department or the GBI, because we are still trying to solve that one, and that one is also a very difficult one. And they do have similarities, you know, definitely. Anyway, this has been Small Town Dark Truths. And I'm your host, Alexis. Now keep probing, keep questioning, because dark truths often hide where we least expect them. I will see you next week, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more. Bye! But wait, don't go anywhere, because I have a preview for the next episode. Next week we are going to be talking about another homicide, sadly. But this one actually hits very close at home with me. I actually knew the victim, and I will talk about that in my debrief. I don't think I'm going to talk about that in the next episode. But at the debrief, I will talk about maybe some memories with the next victim that I had. Very sweet. But it is it's a woman who was found in the Ingalls parking lot, unalived by her husband. So yeah, we will be talking about that next week. So I will see you then. It is a sad and tragic case. And yeah. So I will see you then. Y'all stay safe, and please, just, you know, just stay safe. That's pretty much all I was saying. Just stay safe. You know, keep your guard up and follow your instincts. But I will see you next week. Bye!